Finance and Budgeting Committee meeting for Monday, September 19th to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Calling the roll, Mr. Greenspan.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones is absent at the moment. Mr. Hairston. Here. Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Shrine. Mr. Shrine is absent. Ms. Brown. Here. There is a quorum. Also like the record to reflect that Councilwoman Conwell is in attendance.
Great, thank you. Any public comment related to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
Before us are the meeting minutes from August 15th, 2016. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Motion is made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. Before us, we have a number of items referred to committee and one item for discussion, and I'd like to just rearrange the agenda briefly because I believe that the first item on the agenda with the ERP system may take some time, and the other items, the other three items may require less time, and I'd rather, out of respect for those individuals, have them have their items heard, moved on, and then they can return to their daily duties with the county. So with that said, if the clerk would please read item B into the agenda.
Resolution number 2016-0142, authorizing a contract with Mythix Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $595,935.06 for Oracle database software support and maintenance for the period 6/1/2016 through 5/31/2018.
Great, thank you. Please proceed. You're gonna have to, I'm sorry, just push the push button on them.
Sorry.
That's okay.
This is annual maintenance for our Oracle databases. Originally, we entered this as a one-year contract, and by going 2 years, we were able to negotiate 4% cost reduction. And this contract is also $100,000 less than we had paid in previous years.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Hearing no, yeah, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Daftovich, is this contract affected at all by the coming of the ERP system?
We will need to maintain the data that's in these systems until we go live with ERP. So eventually, some of these databases will go away, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And just to follow up, that's not, this contract will run, will be concluded before the ERP's full implementation, correct? So the 2 years that we're talking about for this contract will fall within the scope of the ERP implementation.
The ending date of the contract is May 31st of 2018, but we do have a 30-day out clause for this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Miller.
My understanding is that final implementation on the ERP is not till sometime in 2019.
Right.
There's 3 segments involved. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Ms. Brown.
If you could just briefly elaborate on the savings. You stated there's $100,000 in savings?
In previous years, so we were able to consolidate some of our systems and move them onto a platform that allowed us to see a cost reduction.
So consolidated services, not a reduction in services?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Miller.
Is there any sense of urgency and need for passage under second reading suspension?
Yes, if we could, actually, because the contract term has, the current contract has already expired, so if we could get this moved along more quickly.
Okay, very good.
Also move second reading suspension.
Motion's been made, second reading suspension. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Gallagher.
Why is this late?
This, again, was late. It was originally, the request was originally put in January. We had some difficulties with the MyPro system. It was entered into MyPro in March. And then when it came forward with law, like I said, we decided to go with a 2-year contract, which gave us additional cost reductions.
So where was the hang-up? At the law department?
I could provide a detailed timeline. like I said, the request, our process is that it goes through the Technical Advisory Committee first. So it was actually, went in front of the TAC Board. That request went through, rather. It was entered in MyPro in March. A draft was provided in Matrix in May. We had problems with the certificate of insurance in June, and we finally received that certificate of insurance at the end of June, and a draft resolution was made on August 1st.
So there was no internal foot dragging.
No, I think it just took a little bit longer than we had anticipated.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving back, a motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. That is for second reading suspension on next Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk will please read the next item.
Resolution number 2016-0155, accepting the rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. As you're aware, we presented the tax rates to the committee and to council earlier in the year as part of the tax budget review. This is the formal acceptance of those rates. They'll be certified. I would ask, after there are any questions, your permission to move forward with suspension and passage at the next council meeting. By law, these rates have to be certified by October 1st of each year.
Okay, very good. Any questions? Mr. Miller?
Refreshing my memory, was there any change in the allocation of the real estate tax between capital and operating?
As compared to last year, Councilman? No, these are the same rates as were in effect for last year.
Any other questions? This, I believe, was the item that was on the agenda at our last council meeting, correct? That we didn't have anyone present for the administration. Is this that same
No,
item?
not for this, no.
No? Okay, very good. All right, no further discussion. I'll entertain a motion, second reading suspension.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Second reading suspension. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Clerk will please read the next item in the agenda.
Resolution number 2016-0162, authorizing an amendment to contract number CE 16-00024 with Northwoods Consulting Partners Incorporated for software licensing, maintenance, and support for the Office of Child Support Services electronic document management system for the period 1/1/2016 to 12/31/2016, to extend the time period to 6/30/2019.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, Matt Bender with Department of IT. We're actually co-terming 3 contracts that we had with Northwoods into one. So we had separate contracts for the benefits on-base licensing, child support on-base licensing, and the Northwoods products that we use at the JFS division. So we're looking to enter into a 3-year agreement with Northwoods, just under $1.4 million over the term of those 3 years. And we did secure the pricing based on less than state term, the state term schedule pricing for the Northwoods products that they get through Highland are capped. They're at 20%, and we got it at 19%. We do have a 30-day termination for convenience clause as well. There has been a move at the state to try to implement Northwoods across all the different counties for the JFS organizations, and that will be coming probably in 2018. So this sets us up well if we're going to continue our product until the state delivers their solution.
Okay. Any questions? Mr. Gallagher?
Who is spearheading the use of this statewide?
The Department of JFS at the state is spearheading this. It's part of the Ohio Benefits System deployment. So their plan is to integrate document management into that core system that is mandated for all JFS departments. Every county in the state has to use it.
So the rules and regulations throughout the state, much like the law in the state of Ohio, are the same?
I think with respect to the document imaging piece, yes, they are.
Are there local rules that are different, or?
Well, I think every county may have their own business process that they want to try to support with their on-base system, so they design specific workflows and functionality within the system. Just like we have our own county codes and ordinances to abide by, other counties may differ slightly.
And the end result is savings, mass savings throughout.
Yes, that's the idea. There's also going to be some benefit to the counties once the state deploys this, because the state would then absorb some of the costs for the licensing, and that's yet to be determined, the impact to our county at this time.
You to think outside the box to send a message to the courts throughout Ohio that seemingly seem to function independently at a major cost to the taxpayers without any concern of those costs. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Mr. Miller, then Mr. Jones.
If the state implements their statewide system in 2018, how would that affect us?
So we would be doing a series of analysis over the next couple of years. As soon as they start defining exactly what they will include, and we'll determine what components in our current solution are required to stay locally and what components will be moved to the state solution. So we will conduct that analysis in a joint effort with the state.
And Mr. Chairman, could you explain a little bit about what services are provided under this contract? What does it enable us to do?
Sure. So Northwoods is a reseller of the Highland on-base solution. So essentially, this contract is to provide maintenance and support for the on-base product. There are also components that Northwoods provides us, which is a suite of software that they own called Compass. So we use the Compass software to support the on-base solution. This contract in particular supports 2 different on-base installations. And those installations are at the Job and Family Service Department and the Children and Family Services, the Office of Child Support. So really you can think of this as on-base licensing and support.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones.
As you streamline and make things more efficient, can you speak to any improvements in effectiveness of the 2 departments as a result?
Sure. So we have actually this Northwoods component for Job and Family Services goes back to 2008 when they first issued an RFP, and Northwoods was the winner of that RFP. What we implemented back then was a front-end scanning solution. And the front-end scanning solution allows us to get our documents into OnBase and work them electronically, so our staff are no longer passing paper around throughout the office. So they're actually working from an image in OnBase. We've got kind of like a dual screen setup where they have OnBase open, they have their case management system open. So we're able to gather efficiencies based on the fact that we're delivering documents electronically. We're also able to cut back on some of the back office file storage. We are now able to store documents electronically and work with the records department to make sure that we're meeting all their regulations. We also have in the Office of Child Support, we just revamped their OnBase implementation earlier this year to bring them up to a current model. We hope to implement front-end scanning as well for them moving into the rest of this year. So it's kind of a work in progress, and we're always finding new projects with respect to document management, scanning, records management. It's an evolving process.
Will this any way touch on, since we're looking statewide, will this help in any way if there are families that move across county lines? Does this help in any way in that respect?
I believe when the state implements their solution that it would. Ours is really local to Cuyahoga County, and it really depends on which program. But there will be opportunities for us to bridge that gap, whether it's a solution that we develop internally or we work with the state. We're trying to partner with them as we move forward and implement solutions that are that would solve challenges like you bring up now, because those systems are so, and they're not connected in the way that we need them to be. We really want to work with the state to develop an interoperable kind of framework for their information systems.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Yes.
Through the chair, is this mandated to go through Norwoods?
It's not mandated, but the products that we own, the Compass software suite is proprietary. So they are the sole source vendor that can supply that to us. And as I mentioned earlier, we settled on this solution back in 2008 when we first issued the RFP for the front-end scanning project.
I guess I'm talking about for the whole state. all
For the whole
counties.
state, the state has decided to use Northwoods. I'm sure they probably went through an RFP process as well as they normally do. And when you buy OnBase software, you buy it through a reseller such as Northwoods. This is the reseller that they've chosen, and also the tools that they integrate with their product kind of have a health and human services design to them. So I think that might have been one of the reasons why they were chosen as a preferred vendor.
So last question, so we weren't using them, Cuyahoga County wasn't using them before? Or-
We have been using Northwood since 2008, yes. And we normally do one-year contracts at a time. And we had several separate contracts, so the idea is this year we want to combine those contracts and have it extend that out a couple more years.
I'm just wondering, and when I said mandatory, if the state, it was some way not going to reimburse various counties if they didn't go with Norwood or something like that, because they want to maximize the savings across the state, I'm assuming, so.
Right. Well, when the state delivers their solution, it will be incorporated into their Ohio benefits system. So it would all be on their supported infrastructure. You know, and I think at that time, counties may see a reduction in supporting their own custom document imaging systems if we take out the county mandated tool set, move it to the state solution, and we keep whatever's left that we have designed on our own.
Any other questions? As it relates to implementation in 2018, is that a certainty or is that still in discussion?
The state has just, it was supposed to be next year. They just made an announcement that it's looking like it's going to be pushed back until the beginning of 2018. So it's not set in stone yet. This is kind of a large enterprise-wide effort that they're trying to incorporate all the different programs. They've already moved all of Medicaid over to Ohio benefits. The SNAP and TANF programs are just taking a little bit longer to develop.
Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to refer this item to council.
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that item is moved forward. Thank you.
I would also like to request a second reading suspension.
The reason for that?
Sure. We are looking to pursue, our contract expired at the end of June, and we're looking to resume business with them again as quickly as possible. We've had a number of projects that have just kind of been on hold because we haven't been able to get the contract through MyPro in a timely enough manner. We had some issues with the system routing the issue through MyPro correctly. We've also taken quite a bit of time to make sure that we got the best deal with them that we could, and negotiations took a little bit extra time, and the vendor was not as responsive as we had liked them to be.
So if they weren't as responsive, why should we be responsive to them? We're trying to, right, they want to do business with us, right?
Yes.
So they failed to be I'll open it up to entertain a motion for second reading suspension, but if there is no motion, I'm okay with leaving it as is.
But before we do that, Mr. Chairman, is this the item that was before that no one was here from administration to speak on? Or that was the first one? I don't think we got that.
Clerk for that one. This one looked like it was introduced.
This
last
one was
week.
just introduced. The item you're referring to, Councilman Harrison,
Okay.
was the Mythics
Was it?
item.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure.
Could you explain this where it says that, in the caption, it says that this is for licensing, maintenance, et cetera, et cetera? For the time period from 1/1/2016 through 12/31/2016 to the end of the year, but then it goes on to say, to extend the time period and change the scope of services effective 7/1/2016. So can you explain why it's 12/31 in one place and 7/1 in the other place?
Yeah, so this is part of I think the difficulty that we had with getting all the details right in this contract. What we were trying to do is co-term several contracts that already existed. The one that already existed was from the time period 1/1/16 to 12/31/16, and we're simply amending that one to extend the time for the 3 years that we've included on the item before you today. So the time period does take it out to the end of 6/30/2019. But the contract that we're amending is the one that goes from 1/1/16 to 12/31/16.
So the existing contract that goes to 12/31/16 does not include the scope of services that you need to do the work that you have in mind. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that the motion that we previously passed recommending this resolution to the full council be amended to include a recommendation to council leadership that it be placed on for second reading suspension.
Okay, but before I move forward on that, Mr. Jones had a question, then Mr. Gallagher.
When you mentioned part of the reason for the not being timely submitted was negotiating on the price, it just made me think it's a competitively bid contract, but it's under the umbrella of the fact that they hold in 2009, they are and help me with the wording, 2009, they provided the software. I don't have all
They were the
answers or
implementation vendor.
implementation vendor. So at this point in the contract, we can't really competitively bid because they were the implementation, as you said.
Yeah, they
So-
were the vendor that was chosen at that time, and they did incorporate their own products.
So it was competitively bid back in 2009.
2008,
Or
actually.
2008. But now this contract is one, and my question is this one of multiple contracts they received over that time? Has this been an annual contract?
Yes, the maintenance services for Job and Family Services has been renewed annually. The contract that we're amending, that we're bundling the other two into, is for the Office of Child Support Services. They competitively bid their solution. Last year, Northwoods was the chosen vendor, and now that we have multiple contracts with them, and then the third contract, sorry, is for the Compass appointment software that was also included in the 2008 solution that we deployed over at Job and Family Services. So now what we're trying to do is incorporate all three of those into one agreement.
Northwood has had the contract the entire time?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me how this particular contract has changed over time. Has it increased, decreased in your negotiations with them?
There have been small increases over time based on the Highland pricing schedule. So Highland is the developer of OnBase. All their resellers are, by contract with Highland, obligated to offer pricing based on Highland's price schedule. Highland did raise their price from 19% to 20% of of the state term contract schedule, and we were able to get it secured at 19 and avoid that extra 1% increase this year.
Since 2008, since the implementation, how long are we committed to them over the next few years? Is it until the software wears out, or you help me?
I think with, any software system that we buy, we have to find a business need if there's another solution that's out there that would be a better alternative. And there may be possibilities. We're going to start looking at what we can do across the entire organization because we have multiple instances of on-base deployed. So we're actively pursuing how we can better provide the document imaging services that the entire county uses. So there may be opportunities to consolidate even further as we move forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Gallagher.
Am I correct that your request for suspension under emergency is a lack of responsiveness of the vendor?
We had some delay in getting responses as quickly as we would like them to. We had difficulty with getting the terms of the agreement. As I think we can all understand, it's a little bit confusing with the way that we were trying to co-term all three of these contracts into one. So there was a lot of back and forth, and that caused some delay with getting the item into MyPro as quickly as we would have liked to.
On the county's part?
I think that due to the fact that we were dealing with a new system that was either a learning curve or some of the technicals behind it, that it wasn't just working the way we wanted it to, that there might have been some on the county side as well.
So what part of this necessitates an emergency?
What we're trying to do is, keep a good relationship with the vendor. We've been able
The vendor
to,
was not responsive.
right? So what we'd like to do is in good faith, get this pushed through as quickly as possible. We have, as part of our negotiations, secured a 2.5% discount on the Compass products if we pay our invoices on time. So we'd like to make sure that, we keep that good faith effort that we're showing that we're trying to get this done as quickly as we can.
Well, have we ever not paid on time?
Yes.
We have? When was that?
I know that I don't have the dates in front of me, but I know that there's been challenges in the past with vendors receiving payments on time, and I believe that it's happened at Northwoods.
That ultimately, to me, is a concern. Since this new government has been in place, we have struggled with this. This is a holdover from the old government, and things that were supposed to have been changed. And I think that's a stain on us as leaders in this committee and other committees to get people paid on time. But when I hear lack of responsiveness from a vendor, I don't have much sympathy to go to what is an emergency by law. So I'm not voting for an emergency on this.
Okay, if the clerk, who made the original, first of all, any further discussion? Hearing none, who made the original, I'm sorry, Mr.
I
Harrison.
think I made the second. Somebody else called the,
Who made the original motion?
Mr. Jones and Mr. Hairston.
So Mr. Jones would need, we can do one of two things. We can vote on the motion as seconded, or Mr. Jones, if Mr. Jones is willing to amend his motion, and Mr. Hairston support the amendment as the second, then we would move forward with the amended motion.
One final question, if I may, Mr.
Sure,
Chairman.
Mr. Jones.
And I get what my colleague is saying. I understand his position and his point. But I'll ask one question. Has service been interrupted in this time? Have there been any loss of service in the time between this contract?
There have not been, and we've been able to support the application internally during the time period since we've been out of maintenance.
So no interruption. I'm still willing to support, even in light
Support. So you're wishing to amend your motion?
If
do
that's
you
the
wish to
appropriate step, I will support for the vendor to be paid in this instance.
So your motion then is to amend to make a second reading suspension. Mr. Harrison, is it still your desire to support the amendment of the motion?
No, I'll withdraw my second, and I'm sure Dale will pick it up.
Okay, so we're looking for a second. So we have a motion to amend and a second on the amended motion. All in favor of the motion to amend to make this a second reading suspension signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed?
Nay.
Nay?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
can we
let's
call
do,
a
we'll
roll?
do a roll call vote. Call roll call vote to amend the motion to a second reading suspension.
Calling the roll on the motion, Mr. Greenspan,
No.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
I apologize, the no vote is for,
To deny the motion first. Your motion right now is a second reading suspension, so this is to support. A yes vote would be to support the second reading suspension, no vote would be to deny.
yes.
Mr. Hairston,
Yeah.
Mr. Gallagher? Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
What was that vote?
4-2.
Okay, so the motion before us then is second reading suspension. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? I have no, 2 noes, 4-2. All right, thank you, that passes. I would encourage your vendor to be a little more judicious in negotiating a contract to which they are benefited from.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to the first item. The first item on the agenda of matters referred to committee. If the clerk will please read that item.
Resolution number 2016-0141, making awards on requisition number 29315 to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $25 million for various services for the Enterprise Resource Planning System for various time periods.
Mr. Kennedy.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it's a pleasure to be back up here again. This is really a very historic time for Cuyahoga County. The ERP project that we bring before you, proposed contracts today for your consideration, started a number of years ago, far before I joined the team here with the administration. But it's very important to the future success of Cuyahoga County, particularly from my standpoint in terms of the operations of the fiscal office. We've struggled over the years, even since my arrival, but in years prior to that, with reconciling the information between all our systems. We've basically inherited a government that had information systems siloed to all the specific elected officials' offices. And inheriting that and trying to put together a concise, consolidated operational system has been a struggle. I know that some members of the committee have been present in various presentations by either representatives of the fiscal office or by the auditor of state, and we have continually communicated our hope that the ERP system implementation will solve a lot of the issues that we have in terms of internal controls, faster, more accurate reporting, regular communication internally with all the department heads, with the county executive's office, and with council, so that we're all reading off the same playbook in terms of what our financial figures are. There's a number of individuals here from the administration prepared to give you a little more detail and depth of how everything has come out to play so far. There'll be a presentation that is noted on the agenda related to the process we went through and how these particular contracts were selected, the negotiation process that took place subsequent to that selection, and then some itemized detail in terms of the total cost and what our next steps will be. In terms of overall impact, again, from the perspective of the fiscal offices is very, very important for us. But I think there's other peripheral benefits that come in. We're going to eliminate a lot of the current charges that we have to support some of these operational systems that we will no longer need. And we'll also pick up some functional or operational capacity in terms of additional modules related to items like human resource management, timekeeping, some other ancillary services that'll be probably discussed today. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Scott Rourke to begin the presentation. We have representatives of the vendors for the contracts here, and at the end of the presentation, I'm sure everybody will be happy to take whatever questions come up. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can ask a question, we have an amendment, a proposed substitute, I should say, resolution, and it may be appropriate at this time to substitute that resolution into the record to be the resolution to which we'll be discussing. Before our committee at your station should be a proposed substitute resolution. And as I understand it, it just has more specificity under Section 1 as to who the vendors are and to how they're being paid. If there is no further discussion, I'll go ahead and make a motion to enter the substitute as the active legislation. Motion is made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of substituting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that item is so substituted. So now the item before us and before this council is proposed substitute resolution 2016-0141.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Rourke, the Chief Information Officer. I joined in December, as many of you know, and we certainly had some prior dialogue. We have a lot of experience with ERP, and it certainly was one of the first priorities. And as we saw just in our meeting today, there is a lot of opportunity for us to improve how we have our people, our processes, and our systems modernized and working together, synchronized. So it is a terrific opportunity for us to improve our efficiencies, our productivity, have data actually make really good decisions. And really we want to see, rather than be very reactive and look at cycle times in months, actually get that down to being more real-time information that's actionable, and perhaps even use data to do things like prevention strategies rather than react, or treat. So it's an exciting time on the ERP front. So again, I landed in December. In January, picked this up as a top priority as charged by the executive, and did a research. And actually, I was with Jeff Mowry, the former CIO. I'd worked with him and some other private sector leaders on analyzing and helping support the longstanding effort. As Dennis had mentioned, back in 2014, this process started. It was a very rigorous process. Hundreds of county employees were involved. We initially started with 13 vendors back in 2014, that we started the review process, a very comprehensive list. We did due diligence. We had multiple phases. We had very consistent scoring matrices that we've used all the way through to this day. We took our key processes and we mapped them, and we had the vendors come in and show us how their software could meet the county's needs. So a very rigorous process. We had, through 2014 and 15, we had narrowed it down from these 14 vendors down to 2 finalists, which happened to be, both of them, top 3 in the world, especially in government, very strong choices. And they certainly distanced themselves from a scoring perspective, those 2 stood far and above anybody else of the more than dozen others. So when we picked this up, the first thing we did is we were looking for outside expertise. This is very complex. There's a lot of new technologies. There's a lot of new pricing models out there. There's a lot of options on how you would price it. If you've heard of the software as a service and other innovative new pricing models that were good opportunities for the county to possibly get better use of cash flow and reduce capital expenses. So one of the first things we did, really 2 things, is one is we identified an ERP director. I'd like to introduce Cindy, if Cindy can stand up. Cindy joined us from the Cleveland Clinic. She's actually an expert at both the two finalists, both Oracle and Infor. She ran the ERP, which was Infor for the Cleveland Clinic with over 40,000 employees. So she joined our team. And then we also engaged a third party. It's called Independent Verification and Validation Firm. So a national leader in government software selections called Plant Moran was engaged, and they helped us through this very rigorous process on how to narrow down to get from these two to the final one leading selection that from which we would then go to negotiations. So with that, I'd like to introduce Scott Eiler from Plant Moran.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Committee. Just wanted to start out by a quick introduction of who Plant Moran is so you have some context about the information that we're going to be talking about today. We are actually a regional consulting CPA firm. We have a local office in the city of Cleveland on Superior. We have been doing ERP, what we call IV and V, independent verification and validation work for government for about 30 years. I, as a partner of Plant Moran, have been working with local and county government for 22 years, lot of large clients around the country. We helped the city of Cleveland a couple of years ago through an ERP procurement and implementation. Right now working with Broward County down in Florida, fairly large jurisdiction down there, Miami-Dade County, and a number of other large jurisdictions around the country. So part of what we did is when we stepped in was really to take a look at the two finalists that we had, that being AST with Oracle and Cyber with Infor. As Scott mentioned, they are both very reputable firms. They're considered both leaders from a software perspective and also from an integrator perspective around the country. The RFP was a little bit dated, so one of the activities we did was to develop a best and final offer process. And there were really a couple of reasons why we did that. One, we wanted to get clarification from vendors on the services they were offering. We wanted to obtain clarification on the proposals that they had presented back in 2014. We wanted to get updated pricing, basically final pricing since the original proposal was 2 years old. And finally, to get some updates on some of the technical specifications and really how their softwares had progressed over the last couple of years. Through the best and final offer, we did what we called a normalization process, that is bringing all of the vendor proposals up to the same level of fulfillment of what we had asked for in the best and final offer process. And so as a result of that, based on the evaluation factors, which were clearly published in the RFP and were used as the means for the county selection committee to do their scoring, and through the normalization process that we came up with on May 18th, we presented our results to the selection committee. And as a result of the finalist scoring, there was a unanimous recommendation to proceed forward with Cyber Infor as the preferred vendor to enter into statement of work and contract. Questions?
Any questions of the committee? Hearing none, please continue.
Thanks, Scott. So with that, I'd like to introduce the most respondent vendor, starting with Infor. Bob and Barry?
My name is Barry Fisk. I am the account manager for the state of Ohio for Infor. I have with me Bob Peck, who's the regional vice president.
Sorry, Mr. Miller.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last name.
Bob Peck.
Beck, okay.
P is in Paul.
Peck, okay.
Like Gregory. Infor has been in business
I'm sorry,
for...
sir, could you repeat your name as well?
I'm sorry, Barry Fisk. F is in Frank, I, S is in Sam, K is in Cart. Kate.
Thank you. Very good, please continue.
Sure. Infor has been in business for over 30 years. It's the third largest enterprise software company in the world, with revenues in excess of $2.8 billion at the end of the most recent fiscal quarter. Infor, as a company, focuses on 11 vertical markets. Our public sector is our second largest and our fastest growing. Public sector is critical to the overall business of Infor, and we are committed to continuing to build out this functionality and the products within inside of this space. Infor's solutions are built on, we'll call them capabilities, right? Things that are important to the county. They're integrated so that you get single source of data. Easy to use, so we intend them to be as easy to use as your cell phone. Mobile, so you can use them on your cell phone or your tablet. Sophisticated, deep, rich functionality, highly configurable. Transparent. You need to be able to audit who's doing what with inside of the system. You need to know budget to actuals. You need to be able to find these things very fast, and you want to be able to have your own dashboard so you can see the things that you want to see as councilmen. Technologically sound. The goal is to just have the product work, right? And that's your goal too, is to have it work and function in the way that you want the county to have it work. Infor has built its products to meet the complexities of organizations such as Cuyahoga County. For example, the state of Michigan uses Infor as its HR payroll system. They have 50,000 employees and approximately 60 unions. State of Arizona has 35,000 employees on their HR payroll and talent management system. DuPage County, Illinois, a recent implementation, has a similar employee size to the county and has implemented the HR and financial systems. Miami-Dade, for all of Miami-Dade County, they use our enterprise asset management solution, which is the same solution that you all would be utilizing to manage its roads, its sewers, buses, things like that. And CERN, the super collider in Europe, one of the most complexest pieces of equipment in the world, uses EAM to manage and do preventive maintenance on that system. These are large, complex public sector organizations that are all successful and depend on Infor to run their systems. Infor and Cyber look forward to having and working with Cuyahoga County as a partner as we move forward to have a successful implementation. Questions?
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Conwell.
To the chair, on your last point in regards to Dade County, is that the only county that has utilized the specific thing that we would utilize for our roads and bridges data?
There are others for enterprise asset management. I don't have a list in front of me, but we can provide those.
Okay. Any that you can think off the top of your head already here, utilized in the state of Ohio? Or just Dade just came to you as a?
For this specific module that you're utilizing, no, Dayton uses another one of our asset systems.
You said Dayton or Dade?
Dayton.
Okay, my apologies.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, that's our software provider. Their project manager actually is coming over from DuPage County. So we will have, their project lead will have county, very specific county experience using that software. With that, I'd like to introduce now our implementer, John O'Brien, if you want to join us, please, from Cyber.
Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is John Kovach, and I'm a senior client partner with Cyber's Infor consulting practice for public sector.
So before you continue, because I know Mr. Miller is going to ask his writing, can you spell your last name, please?
It is K-O-V as in victory, A-C-H.
Thank you.
And hi, I'm Brian Beckman, B-E-C-K-M-A-N, Senior Director of Delivery within Cyber's Infor practice.
Thanks, Brian. I'd like to start out by talking a little bit about who Cyber is and then proceed with what our role is in this particular project and initiative. As the prime services provider for this project, we look forward to partnering with the county as well as our software partners to achieve a successful outcome to this project. Cyber is a 41-year-old publicly traded global IT services company headquartered in Denver, Colorado. We have over 5,500 employees worldwide and over $700 million in annual revenue. We've been working in public sector for over 35 years, helping states, cities, and counties implement various solutions. We are N4's oldest, largest, and most experienced partner. We work very closely with them in public sector to deliver solutions to their customers. Our N4 experience goes back over 20 years. As the prime services provider for this initiative, we are ultimately responsible for the success of this project along with the county. Our initial bid included software and services for N4 software, for MHC print management software, and Emphasis budget or treasury management software. As we continue, Cyber will be contracting directly with the county for the N4 consulting services. MHC and Emphasis will be contracting directly with the county for software and their respective services. The services that we'll be providing include project leadership, which Scott mentioned. Our project manager actually recently wrapped up an engagement with DuPage County. He's got over 30 years of public sector experience, both working in public sector and consulting within public sector. Our services will include project management, project planning, the design of the system, business process design, configuring the system to meet the county's needs, any technical development services that are required, which includes data conversions from past data history, as well as interfacing to any required third-party systems. We will also help the county test the system, both from a user and a system, overall system integrated test. We'll provide project team education and user training, and ultimately bring it to a successful go-live.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions from the committee? Mr. Gallagher?
We're looking at,
Yeah, we are going to present a timeline here on a next slide here. It's about a 2-year implementation. And with post-implementation support, that takes you through a year-end process at the end of 2018.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The third-party connection and past data history, can you give me an example of both, what that would consist of?
What the
Past data history is just
Sure.
Spreadsheets that are data, digital data or paper data?
It's a mixture of all of that. So the ERP team has done a thorough analysis of what data would be required to be loaded into the new ERP system to be able to continue your processes and make decisions without starting from scratch. And so each of those data areas have been analyzed on how much data is going to be brought in. Some examples would be some general ledger, transaction history and balance history, your open invoices, et cetera, that would allow you to continue to function as a county until you build up the remaining history in the ERP system.
How far is that history? How far will it go back?
I don't remember how much is in the...
I don't recall exactly, but I think it'll vary depending on where the data is coming from and how much data is there.
Are you asking how much is going to go into the system?
No, the
How
time.
far back?
Yeah, how far back? So like 2000 or, well, naturally I'm expecting it'll coincide with any Ohio revised codes that we might.
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes, it will.
Yeah,
You would
hi.
speak to that, Cindy?
Yes, I'd like to speak to that. So that's exactly right. We are looking for what are our requirements, our statutory and government compliance that we need to have so that we make certain that we either have that data directly converted into the new system, or at least we have that history of that data accessible so that we can combine them. But yes, we are taking all of that into consideration so that from a business team perspective, we are honoring and and reviewing all of those details as part of the project.
Thank you so much. And I guess the second part of my question was the third party. You mentioned that our system would be able to function with third-party organizations?
No, you currently have, we have a list of third-party applications that the ERP system must interface to.
Oh,
To
okay.
receive information from and put information into.
Okay,
So we'll be providing those services as well.
thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, hearing none.
Thank you.
Please continue.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I do want to,
We do have Mr. Hairston.
I just want the young, the
Cindy.
woman, yes, what's her name again?
Cindy.
Okay, okay.
Cindy woman.
Okay, thank you.
we did want to take you through,
Continue.
okay. We do want to take you through the timeline here. This is a high-level chart of the timeline. You asked the question earlier. This is based upon a proven approach that Cyber and Infor have repeated with other local government organizations. We'll start with the financial modules, get the core there, you know, your basic structure of your financials, your accounting, your chart of accounts, departments, et cetera, to get that in there and start mapping that process. So you'll see a bit of a staggered approach here with the financial modules. Also understanding the county needs or taking into account the requirements here in starting the asset management product that Barry had spoken about. So those will be starting up front. And that go live date is actually in the kind of the mid of that bar towards the end of 2017 into 2018, but wanted to show the need for support after the implementation to make sure the county can go through month-end, quarter-end, year-end processes. So that's why that bar is extended through the end of 2018. The other modules will be layered in there. You've got the supply chain, procurement, purchasing bar there as well. And of course, the human resources and payroll applications. Those will be about 6 months staggered on a start there. And the payroll applications would go live towards the end of 2018 there. So it's a process actually very similar to what we mentioned DuPage County as a county of similar complexity and size that they have gone through as well. So this is there's obviously much more detail behind this and all the different functionalities and modules, but this is kind of a general timeline for you to review.
Mr. Miller.
I noted in the legislation that generally the contracts are for 5 years or for 10 years. And my question is, after those contracts expire, how much is it going to cost to maintain the system going forward?
It's a good question. I'll answer it from the cyber perspective. So our contract is 5 years. Our implementation is actually much less than that, but we will remain around for additional support as needed. The software is being implemented in Infor's cloud, and the cloud contract is a 10-year contract in there that provides all the maintenance and the service that is required on the software. The only thing that the county might require subsequent of the original implementation would be continued business process work or other work around how you utilize the system, but the technical aspects and maintenance are contained within that contract, as well as updates to the software upgrades, et cetera.
And just as a point of clarity, Mr. Boatright, you can confirm this. County can only enter into contracts not to exceed 10 years at a time, correct?
I don't believe that's true. Is there, I can take a look at that.
Okay. Yeah, if you can verify that. I believe that we're prohibited by ORC of only.
There may have been like a power contract, which is a totally different subject that you can't enter into beyond 10 years. I think that's where that context came
Okay.
up.
All right, if you can
But I
verify
don't
that.
believe that would apply here.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Miller.
to the director, what happens with the Infor contract after the 10 years is done?
Sure. So once that 10-year contract has exceeded, we will certainly be entering into negotiations to extend that support contract, that maintenance and support contract, and their subscription fees. So we still have the opportunity to continue to make certain that we have that continuous support of the ERP. It doesn't end after 10 years. Plus, we will also be supporting it in-house by our employees, but we would definitely be renegotiating the next contract with Infor.
And Director, I presume that after the 10 years that the cost going forward would be at a considerably lower rate because that cost includes a lot of installation and setup costs. Is that correct?
So to your point, Representative Miller, we will be looking at mainly support, ongoing support, so that as the software upgrades, any patches or adjustments to the software, or if we want to look at additional modules that may come available between today and the next 10 years. So we will be negotiating those types of items for that continued support and maintenance.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, please continue.
Hi, this is actually our last slide. I'm sure you're excited to ask some questions. I did want to go brief into the pricing. So you'll recall that originally we have in 2014, we did bond $25 million to support this project. As you saw in the timeline, it is roughly a 2-year implementation timeline. We have budgeted the $25 million out, including both a capital and an operating nature of it. I'm pleased to report that we've identified opportunities to save money that exceed the future operating costs. So this is actually, at an operating level, is a cost savings opportunity in addition to all the benefits of the new tools and processes. But we will be able to terminate contracts on like hardware and existing software on our aging systems that exceed the cost of the go-forward operating of this new solution that we're doing. So the key elements here from what I'll call the bonded funds that we're using is we've got the primary one is the implementation, as you just pointed out. That is the bulk of today's ask on the authorization to move forward on the $25 million to start the implementation. $9 million roughly is for the implementation. That is the configuring of the software and engaging the consultants. The second item is the Infor software, which in the first 2 years when we're live we're getting charged by the user, and generally speaking, the first 2 years, we're not going to be live with 8,000 users. So that will pick up in future years, but is low initially for the first 2 years. So for today, we're looking for almost rounding $11 million, permission to use 11 of the $25 million over the next 2 years to engage in these activities here. And we will be before you with the rest of the $25 million, which consists of the following. So internal staffing, including new expertise that will be needed, backfilling, which is some of our talented leaders will be joining the ERP team up to 100% of the time. We will be providing resources to make sure that their operations can continue uninhibered. We do have a contingency number. That is the next largest item and is multi-million-dollar. And then we've got technology, data, interfaces. We talked about connecting to other systems. As you know, we've got this real property system that's turning up about the same time. We want them to be talking to each other. We want our taxes to be automated. So to realize a lot of the benefits of our current systems, every one we talked about today, OnBase, as an example, those are important that we continue to tie all these together. So there's one central repository, and they call it one single point of truth, so we don't have 3 different disparate numbers and don't really know how to make decisions. So that's a key element. And then lastly is the third-party assurance, which is kind of like an audit function, an external auditor with expertise in this. Services like Plant Moran, the CPA firm, they're in the business of doing this, and I know in Broward County, as an example, they're kind of on the board and kind of oversee as an independent analyst. That kind of function is something I think we could benefit from. They would be an early flag if they saw things not proceeding as well as it should on a project perspective. And then also in that bucket is business process reengineering. So I mentioned at the opener that this is really not just a tech project. This is aligning the people, the process, and the systems So there is a lot of process work. You've heard about a lot of the pain in areas like the purchasing area. We do need to go in and align the people, the process, and the technology and streamline all those processes so they're highly efficient and effective. And we want the cycle times to be measured, closer to real time, or at least maybe in days instead of months like you might have experienced. So with that, again, the 11 million today is what we're looking for, and the balance, we will be back shortly. We need to RFP some of those areas I just described, and we plan on launching this in the fourth quarter of this year, RFP processes and your support willing. And then we have a 2-year project to start realizing all the benefits of the streamlined processes and the systems and aligning it to our talented folks. So with that, I will turn it over to Dennis for the final wrap-up.
Were there any questions
sure.
on what we just reviewed?
Yeah, I have a series of questions. Mr. Miller?
The legislation references contracts of $23,849,000. My question is, are we being asked to approve that amount today, or only the $10,804,000?
Good afternoon, Emily McNeely, here on behalf of IT. So I will give you some clarification on what we're doing. So the almost $11 million that Scott spoke to is for that 2-year project that will come out of the bonded funds. What we've done is, and Dale, to your question earlier on the ongoing costs, is we've negotiated for a 10-year contract for 2 of the software vendors, a 5-year with the other one, based on how they operate and what they were able to do from a negotiating standpoint. So on the Infor side of things, you'll see that the years 3 through 10 are the $12.8 million. And so what we've done is we've negotiated in years 3 and 4 a 0% increase, in year 5 a 1% increase, in year 6 a 2% increase, and 7 through 10 are a 3% increase, and that is lowered from the 6% standard rate that Infor charges. So what we've done is we've negotiated that 10-year, and so years 3 through 10 will be paid for out of the general fund, and as Scott mentioned, that will be less than what we're currently paying for all of the disparate systems. We've also done similar efforts with MHC, which is a 5-year contract, and negotiated down their annual increase as well. So that is a almost $62,000 for years 3 through 5. And then on the emphasis, we could also do the 10-year there as well at $149,773 for those years 3 through 10. And all of them are subject to annual appropriations and have different out clauses to enable the county to be flexible in what we're doing and any changes that may come over those 10 years.
So again, to summarize, we have a very tight scope, a very specific go-live schedule, and the 25 million will carry all these expenses over the first 2 or so years. And then the operating savings from being able to move away from our legacy systems and associated licensing will fund the go-forward operating details highlighted in this slide.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Miller?
Am I correct that we actually bonded a considerably larger amount for this project, so that we'll actually have some bond proceeds left over, and we'll be funding part of this project out of operating? Is that correct?
Councilman, that is correct.
Okay. Just to be clear, the legislation does not actually make any appropriations. It merely authorizes the administration to enter into contracts. So the administration will have to come back to council through a fiscal resolution biweekly the biweekly fiscal resolution in order to request the funding for the contracts. Any other questions? Mr. Miller, do you have Ms. Conwell.
Through the chair, in regards to the various systems that we're going live with, for the HR component, are some of these going to be done simultaneously with the others, or is it just going to be where you concentrate on just different departments and how you?
So that's a good question. With respect to the human resources applications, as well as the finance and the supply chain applications, we are implementing the core components of each of these modules first, and that core component is for all of our employees. We're not doing a pilot test with a few departments. So once these applications go live, the benefit is across the county. It's not just for specific departments. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Any questions? I have a couple questions. So the remaining bond proceeds, the roughly $1,150,000, that will just remain for the time being, maybe this from Mr. Kennedy, will just remain in the bond fund? Is that correct? There's no other dedicated source to this?
Mr. Chair, just for some clarification, the bond proceeds are defined, at least at this point, in the $11 million that Mr. Rourke referenced. The $13 million are going to come out of operational expenses over the course of the implementation and the 10 years of the contract. I think Scott has referenced additional requests that will come to council as part of the remainder of that $25 million. But we are confident that we will not reach that ceiling of monies. So any monies that will be left over after these third-party administrator contracts and backfills and the other things that were referenced, those bond proceeds then could be reappropriated.
So then, okay, by looking at this slide 9, what we're saying is we bonded 25 for this project. We only envision using 11, 10,804,000.
11 as of right now.
Of the 25, the remaining money needed to complete the project at 23,849 will come from operational savings, either through direct operational savings or summaries of IT contracts that will no longer be required. Is that correct?
But the 23 that is included in the legislation is the amount that is projected to be expensed.
Correct. But
to
the
the
funding,
vendors.
right, but the funding sources will be a combination of already bonded money as well as operational savings.
That is correct.
Can we get a list of those operational savings? Not right, I mean, obviously not this moment, but if we can get a list of that before its final passage, that would be, which I'm envisioning will be on October 11th, that would be helpful.
We can do that.
Okay, great, thank you. And then I have another question regarding the, obviously part of an ERP system is not only evaluating technological proficiencies and savings through software advances, but also internal control and integration of new processes. We know that we're having a transition in our director of innovation is no longer going to be with the county. Obviously, that's a major component of how we integrate in, as well as probably with internal audit to ensure compliance with internal controls and procedures. Where are we on that process as it relates to the integration of the ERP system? Meaning, it's one thing to have software in place, but if you're having software that reiterates the same poor practices, it really does, you won't reach your full efficiencies.
Yes, I would say that Cindy and I both have experience leading enterprise resource planning systems like this, and inherent in that, we're accustomed to leading the process components as well. So we will hire and engage current staff or new staff and third-party vendors to make sure that we're accustomed to leading those parts. So from our perspective, that's just part of a natural ERP implementation, the process piece. So we are both also experts in that and feel very comfortable we can lead the project through that phase. Again, the people, the process, and the technology is the key. We don't see this as just technology. So that's just part of the normal part of what we've been doing for decades.
Right, yeah. I mean, technology really is kind of it should be it should be not the driving force, but it's the tool. You still have to have systems and controls in place to ensure that the vehicle is operating smoothly. I'm just curious, with the director of innovation leaving, how that's going to impact or delay this process.
It will not have any impact.
So what is the role and impact of the director of innovation or that unit in the ERP system? If they're not going to have an impact, then what are they? What's the role been in this process?
The Innovation Office has been dedicated capacity for high-impact change initiatives. So they have gone into areas like purchasing and identified a couple target-rich areas to go in and kind of in a SWAT team go in and change that. What we're talking about here is looking at all the processes all at the same time, leveraging cyber's methodology, where the process across all these areas is what they do for a living. So we're using their coaching, third parties as needed. And again, we want to build a staff because we need, after they all go away, we need to own this and continue to not just use it to its fullest, but also continue to improve upon it. So that is on track and is customary of any ERP. And the Innovation Office will continue to look for high impact, target rich areas to save millions of dollars or to create some kind of value, do something very provocative.
Okay, and maybe this is maybe for Mr. Kennedy, the $14 million or so that has been bonded that we don't anticipate using because it'll be backfilled by operational funding. Will be our intent to retain that money in that bond fund until this project is completed, so that to ensure that we have the funds necessary to complete the project should the estimates on the operational savings not be met?
Mr. Chair, I believe that we would be prudent to keep that money isolated as originally intended until the project's completed to everyone's satisfaction.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I believe I will go ahead and make a motion to refer this matter to council for the September 27th meeting for second reading. I believe that this item is large enough in scope and dollars that this item requires 3 readings. With that being said, I've made the motion. I'll entertain a second. Motion's made and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. That item will be on the September 27th council meeting for second reading. Great, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. The next item on the agenda, Mr. Kennedy, you're back up at the podium, will be to discuss the second quarter financial review. As my colleagues are aware, every quarter, the county submits to us the second quarter financial statements. Those packets are presented to us, and this was presented to us a while ago. I don't recall the exact date. We have submitted to the administration, and they have provided questions to our answers. We're still waiting for one answer, and I'll discuss that one later. But I believe the questions we asked have been sufficiently answered. But I will turn it over to the director for his presentation.
I believe, Mr. Chair, that we have a very brief PowerPoint to accompany the original report. But thank you again for another opportunity to be up here today. Do you not have this, Mary? This is
It's already up here.
Thank you. Okay. This slide will give you an understanding based on the results as presented in the second quarter update of the general operating fund. And in terms of the use of general operating, for discussion purposes, we're going to say that that excludes the 0.25% Just change screens on me here. We were on slide 2 there. Okay. As opposed to reading all the numbers, walking you through, I'd just like to give you some highlights of what the fiscal office and Office of Budget Management project as the result of reviewing operations for 2016 through the second quarter. As you can see, our current estimate for 2016 indicates a $7.3 million operational deficit. That's based on a beginning balance of $116.2 million, projections of revenue of $411 million, and then $418 million of expenditures. The ending balance then, subject to that operational deficit, is expected to reach approximately $109 million. That's a 6.3% reduction from the previous fiscal year. In terms of expenditures, we are projecting a $19.6 million surplus from the budget in terms of the general operating fund. Again, that's not considering 0.25% revenue and expense. There is, through the second quarter, only one agency that's significantly over budget. That's the Public Defender's Office, and that's largely driven by an increase in expert witness fees related to the 2 high-profile capital cases that have occurred that they had done work on. The estimate for expenses has increased $33.9 million since the first quarter report. The basis of that estimate increase is $24.3 million for capital projects. That's the Huntington Park Garage at $14 million and the Cuyahoga County Airport at $9.5 million. And then a $13 million subsidy to the Economic Development Fund that was shown as a reserve at the end of the first quarter. In terms of revenue, our revenue estimates are higher than budget by $25.1 million. $29.5 million reflects the repayment of the general fund advances to the capital projects. Those were the 2 projects related to the garage and the airport that I just mentioned. $5.2 million on Huntington Park Garage repayment was advanced in 2015. Excluding those repayments that we get from those capital project funds, our revenue estimate is $4.3 million short of the budget, and that's mostly related to shortages in fines and forfeitures and charges for services. We don't feel there's any real issue there, but rather believe that the estimates were too high in the original budget to begin with. Our revenue estimate has increased $34.6 million since the first quarter results. Again, $29.5 million is related to the capital project repayments, and $7.9 million is related to increases in sales taxes. The operating deficit of $7.3 million reflects the inclusion of the $13 million subsidy to the Economic Development Fund, and then we have approximately $18 million in carryover obligations. The revenue shortfall, which is offset at this point in time by underspending in almost every agency and department, has helped keep that operating deficit at the $7.3 million. Our 2015 ending cash balance was 30% of total expenditures, and then the excess cash was dedicated to that carryover in terms of obligations for the future. Any questions on this slide? This chart gives a graphic representation of the general fund. The sales tax revenue is split between the general operating fund and the 0.25% fund that's dedicated to the 3 major capital projects. That total for those combined sources is expected to reach $271.5 million. by year end, which is a little under $16 million or 6% greater than what was collected last year. And it's roughly $255,000 or 0.1% over budget. Sales tax revenue attributable to the general operating fund is projected to total $232.8 million. Again, that's excluding the revenue associated with the 0.25% fund. Those projections include the transfer of $16.5 million from that 0.25% fund to the general operating fund, and that will be done in 2016. That transfer as part of the budget decreases to $5.5 million in both 2017 and 2018. And as historically, sales tax represents at this point in time approximately 57% of our total general operating fund revenue. The June collections included for sales tax a $5.4 million one-time adjustment that was related to a case from late 2015 that was settled by the state. Taking that $5.4 million out of the comparisons, sales tax this year is up a little bit over 4% as compared to last year. Questions?
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Chairman, Director, when does the impact of the change in sales tax related to Medicaid kick in, and what's the current estimate of the impact of that change?
I'd be touching that in a second, Councilman, but it will impact us right now, unless there's any kind of corrective action in the final quarter of next year. And then
Final quarter of 2017.
2017, and then all of 2018, unless there's some remedial action taken either by the governor or the General Assembly.
Okay.
This is a slide that gives some information broken out by major department source for the general fund. Again, this does not include the 0.25% fund. Without going through all the information in particular there, I can give you some highlights of what we found to date for the first 2 quarters of 2016. The general fund has a substantial surplus. That's a combination of surpluses in pretty much all departments throughout general government. For justice and public safety, 75% of the total surplus is the sheriff, that's 1.8 million. Common pleas is 1.1 million. Domestic relations, approximately $975,000. There's a variety of reasons for those. The major ones are we're eliminating workers' comp chargebacks. In the sheriff's office, that's a pretty substantial expense, or had been in the past. We found that we have more than enough money in our workers' comp fund to eliminate those chargebacks, at least for short term, moving forward. The surplus was looked at by an actuarial review conducted by a third party, and we're confident that we have sufficient funds there now without generating new funds that result in expenses to some of these other departments. In terms of domestic relations, they're not filling all the positions that were originally budgeted for this year, so they have a pretty substantial surplus in their department as well. There's some other areas where we've had surpluses. In terms of our miscellaneous expenses, $6 million was budgeted as part of the biennium budget for contingency and vacancies. We've only really used about $400,000 of that money to date. And the projections moving forward take into account what we believe is appropriately going to be filled by the end of the year. So that results in somewhat of a surplus. And then we have a surplus in terms of some of our subsidies. 75% of the total is in debt service for Gateway and Brownfield projects. The original budgets calculated were based on that annual requirement, but those projects have other revenue sources which have supported that debt service payment. So we'll be spending less, they'll need less support from the general fund to finish out the year. Any questions?
Any questions? Okay, please continue.
This slide takes into account the adjustments made that are reflected on here in terms of backing out a $4.7 million reserve on balance for the capital improvement plan. We just wanted to represent where we are in terms of our balance in terms of reserves. As you can see, the unadjusted balance to total expenditures for just the general operating fund is at 26%. Making those adjustments for the expenses puts us on that 25% number as projected through the end of the year. For the general fund, including the 0.25% set-aside subfund, the unadjusted balance to total expenditures is approximately $136 million, which represents 28%. And then again, taking into account the adjusted figures, it brings that balance down to, or the percentage balance down to 29%. That's again projected as of this point in time. The next slide summarizes the activity related to the Health and Human Services Levy Fund. In terms of revenue, the estimate moving through the end of the year is $227.8 million. That is about $10 million less than what was in the original budget. The original budget had an estimate that we now feel was overstated. It assumed a 6% increase in collections over 2015 and did not take into account the consideration for the revenue generated by a tax lien sale, which we did not do. So that had a impact. The good news is the revenue estimate that we're portraying at this point in time moving forward based on second quarter results has not changed since our first quarter review. And the ordinance that applies to the HHS levy fund requires that we have a minimum cash balance equal to 10% of expenditures. And as you can see on the balance to expenditure row, the fourth row down, we're considerably over that 10% minimum requirement. In terms of expenditures, we have a $7 million surplus that we've realized basically because most program subsidy estimates are under budget, so we haven't had to make some of the transfers that we've needed to. We have several significant surpluses. Approximately $2.5 million in subsidies were budgeted in both the levy fund and the general fund, but it should only be the general fund for 16. So that adjustment accounts for some of the surplus in terms of the expenditures that were projected at the beginning of the year. The current budget was just under $238 million. Our estimate for expenses in the Health and Human Services Levy Fund through the end of 16 are $231 million.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Miller.
In the full second quarter report, there was a statement saying that the 2017 approved budget included a $15 million drawdown from combined PA funds. Then it said, please note combined PA funds accumulate additional revenue each year. So my question is whether that $15 million drawdown is net of that accumulation, or whether on a net basis that the change in the PA fund is actually going to be less than $15 million, and if so, by what amount?
Good. I believe Ms. Keenan could probably give you the detail on that.
Hi, Maggie Keenan, OBM. So the $15 million did not take into consideration new revenue that would come into the PA funds. And this results really from errors in our revenue estimate. So we subsidize programs and then we'll get reimbursements from other sources. If we underestimate those reimbursements, we've subsidized too much and we have cash balances. I think you can take the 15 million and there'll still be a substantial balance in those funds. It's not going to draw it down to nothing.
So, so there's going to be a $15 million drawdown, but how much revenue do you expect the combined PA funds to receive in 2017?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. I'd have to look and see. The issue is not going to be so much what we budgeted, but what we're planning on getting in. Theoretically, we shouldn't have those cash balances because our revenue estimates would be better. But I'd have to get you that number.
Let me try rephrasing the question in a different way. What I'm trying to get at is if you factor out anything that we do with the PA funds, what do you expect the difference between receipts and expenditures for HHS to be in 2017?
I'd have to get back to you on that, but theoretically, there shouldn't be much of a difference because we should only be subsidizing the difference between the revenue coming in and our total expenses.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Keenan, I'm not putting the question forward very effectively. I'll try again.
Okay.
What I'm trying to get at is looking at the Health and Human Service system as a whole in 2017. How close or far away are we going to be from structural balance? So that if we're in structural balance, we would not be drawing down either on the HHS levies account balance or on the net balance of the PA funds. If we're not in structural balance, we would be drawing down on one or the other or both, and if so, by what total amount?
So as of second quarter, the deficit in 17 is projected to be about $3 million, which assumes the $15 million drawdown. So we're $18 million in balance.
$18 million short of balance. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a considerable amount. Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Just to wrap up, we'd like to just give you some numbers on things, how things look on an all funds basis. Expenditures are estimated to total $1.6 billion, which is $114.8 million under budget. That's roughly 7%. And they're $524.8 million less than the total available resources. There's been a number of situations where the estimates have changed since the first quarter update was distributed. $34 million is related to the capital project subsidies in the general fund, which we briefly discussed. $18 million in workers' compensations, that's cash transfers to consolidated funds. $10 million in the road and bridge fund. That's a result of the fact that projects are appropriated when implemented. We don't do those appropriations annually. We wait till the need arises. $10 million in the employee health and wellness, and $7 million in development. That's economic development, casino tax fund, demolition fund. All those increases were offset by a $10 million decrease in early childhood to reflect the additional $10 million included in the budget over 5 years as originally planned. The 2016 unadjusted ending cash balance on an all funds basis is estimated to total 33% total expenditures, making adjustments to those cash balance for the adjustments that are required to balance correctly. The adjusted cash balance is estimated to be 28% of total expenditures. And Maggie and I'd be happy to answer any additional questions of the committee.
What I would ask my colleagues, as if you have not already, we did put together 38 questions to the administration, and you have a copy of that document. Actually, there were more than 38 questions because some of the answers we received back resulted in additional questions being asked, to which all but one answer has been responded to. So I would encourage you to read the report, and it'll provide additional information. A lot of what the director is speaking of are items that were contemplated in the budget, and just provide additional clarity as to some of the variances. For example, the $15 million drawdown in PA funds was contemplated in the budget. So although it may appear to be on the surface as an issue, it's an issue that was addressed in the budget. And as we know, the budget did a few things. Number one, it was balanced. Number two, it increased slightly to the reserves. It didn't increase taxes, it didn't increase debt without a dedicated revenue stream. So I would encourage you to read that. The one question, though, that was not answered, I don't know if the director can answer this right now. It has to do with the hotel operating fund, where the answer we received back referenced a $7.6 million deficit or requirement that funding be supported to the hotel operations. Is there any additional information on that?
I do not have any. Maggie, you got it?
And I'm referring to question 20, if my colleagues wish to. Unfortunately, we didn't page number these, but we will in the future. So question 20.
Ours aren't numbered. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So I'll read the original question. I'll read the answer. So the original question was on page 9, the all funds chart. The 2017 estimated all funds expenditure is $1,447,000,000. The approved budget for 2017 all funds was $1,422,000,000. Can you explain the $25 million difference increase in the estimate versus the budget? The answer received back on the first response was, this is the sum of, for the most part, minor variances in nearly all county funds, which we've heard. Significant increases are reflected in the road and bridge, $11.5 million, sanitary engineer, $11.5 million, hotel operating, $7.6, and the prosecutor's DTAC HHS funds, $3.5. The subsequent question was, what is causing the $7.6 million estimated increase in hotel operating? And we just have not received a response yet.
I can get back to you on that today.
Okay. All right, great.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Miller.
Director or Ms. Keenan, for the economic development and the capital funds, we budgeted substantial amounts from the general fund in the 2016 budget for these purposes. And my question is whether we expect to actually expend all the amounts that are in the budget for these purposes in 2016, or will there be some that will be deferred?
My understanding for economic development, the $13 million will be spent this year. That's based on information that we received from the department. They've obligated almost all of those dollars, and they're saying that they're going to let them out more quickly than they have in the past. For capital improvements, we're going to spend all but $1 million.
Okay. And my other question is that the full report referred to a $4.1 million deficit in the health and wellness fund as relates to receipts versus expenditures. And my question is what the implications are of that and what we're going to do to address it.
The $4.1 $1 million deficit was actually in the regionalization fund, so that's the program for the regional partners. We're revising those estimates. As of right now, we think actually that program's gonna break even this year, so we're not as concerned with the regional program. There is a deficit, about 7 million or 8 million in the county's benefits program, and we're likely looking at adjusting the employer rates for 2016 to cover that deficit.
And Director, is there a reserve balance in that county health and wellness fund that would cover that deficit for this year?
No, the reserve would come out of the general fund.
Well, that's not good.
Those costs are allocated countywide, so it wouldn't be 100% general fund. 40% of benefits are general fund impact. We don't have a reserve in self-insurance. We used to. We've been drawing it down. Starting next year, we're going to budget to rebuild the reserve over a period of 3 years.
Okay, that's good information. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, any other final comments?
Any comments? No, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on the agenda. Is there any miscellaneous business? Let me just thank my colleagues. We had a lot on our agenda, 2 very heavy items, and I appreciate their participation today. Any other public comment unrelated to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, no one has signed in.
Okay, then we stand adjourned. Thank you.